I just want to say good afternoon. Happy Earth Day to everyone. Sorry if this is your third one. You keep hearing me say this, but we do have new folks every hour. So happy 50th anniversary, and we're really thrilled to have you join us. So thanks for being here. I'm Todd Samsel with the Friends of Virgin Islands National Park. In a minute, I'm going to introduce our speakers for this session, but I want to recognize and thank the sponsors and partners we have for Earth Day. They certainly were hoping for all of us to be together in person, but they're supporting this virtually. And so I just want to shout out to Island Green Living Association, who is leading us in this conversation this hour. Also, Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority, the Virgin Islands Department of Tourism, and our Virgin Islands National Park are all partners and sponsors with Earth Day. We're certainly blessed here on St. John and in the Virgin Islands to have Virgin Islands National Park, and we're working hard with our national park staff and partners to make sure that we're all ready when folks who aren't here right now get a chance to come back. And so we're really looking forward to that. So a little bit of housekeeping. My understanding is we're going to have more of a conversation this hour than a presentation, which is great. And so if you've got a noisy background, feel free to mute. Otherwise, you'll want to be ready to chime in. And just quick disclaimer, we are recording all of these. So if you don't want to have yourself recorded, feel free to turn your video off. We can still get your audio. But otherwise, we'll take it as your permission to show your shining face because we have a lot of classrooms that can't connect during the live seminar, but they're going to want to see the recordings, and we'll have these available on websites as well. So with that, we're here to talk about recycling. Recycle It is our conversation, and leading us through the conversation from Island Green Living Association, our executive director, Kelly Lawson, and first off, and you promised to social distance, you two. So make sure that you're maintaining safe distance. But joining Kelly is Anthony Novelli. We're thrilled to have you both. Thrilled to have you both as partners, and look forward to hearing about what you all are doing and what we can do together to promote how we reduce, reuse, and ultimately recycle here in St. John. So turn it over to you, Kelly.
Great, thank you so much, Todd, and for everyone that's joining us today. Happy Earth Day. So like Todd said, we wanted to be out doing the parade and the fair, and we're just forced to adapt. So here we are. Island Green Living, we just wanted to talk a little bit about the recycling programs that we have. Many people are familiar with the aluminum recycling program, which we will get to that. But we wanted to talk about a couple other programs that we have that allow us to recycle on St. John. And of course, we also always promote reducing as the #1 way to make an impact in the way that you manage your waste. So just by not creating it, single-use plastics especially are just taking over in the environment, and dire estimates, have said that by the year 2050, there will be more pieces of plastic in the ocean than fish, which is sad and horrible to hear, but hopefully a wake-up call that we can absolutely make an impact one person at a time by the choices that we make on a daily basis. So here at Island Green Living, we have the Resource Depot, which has been a program on St. John since 2012. It paused with the Hurricanes Irma and Maria came through, and has reopened last year as of September of last year on our new site. So we're located just below the Vitima building on St. John on Gift Hill Road, and we operate the Resource Depot out of a couple containers at this time. And what the Resource Depot is building material, and it's a thrift store. So it started out being mostly building materials off of job sites. It's often cost prohibitive if you get the wrong materials here on island to ship them back. So manufacturers will just mail the right material, and contractors find themselves with a surplus at the end of the job of materials, or materials that they got that were wrong and get them to the resource depot, and we're able to sell those back to the community at a discounted rate in a revenue. We don't call it profits, but the revenue from the program goes to fund the program. So we look for materials, building materials. We have a bunch of paint here right now that was donated to us from Paradise Lumber. They switched, perfect example, they switched vendors and had a surplus of Valspar paint. So they gave it all to us, and now we're able to sell that back to the community. We've got roofing materials, screws, buckets, sinks, appliances, things like that, just random household goods as well, kitchen goods, plates, silverware. So we encourage the community that if you need something like that, rugs even, before purchasing online or going to St. Thomas, check us out and see if we have something. We have a phone number that's on our website, and we are very active in answering that. So if you want to text us or call us and see if we have something, we'll check it out and work with you to get you that material. So that's the Resource Depot. We also have our brush chipping operation, which is just getting off the ground and running as we speak. This is a program that is made possible through a grant we got last year with the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. Through that grant, we were able to purchase a brush chipper. It's manufactured by the company Vermeer and was sent down to us. We got a brand new one. It takes logs up to 18 inches in diameter, and we mulch it down into 1/4 inch material. So we are working through the initial stages of mulching that material to be able to offer it as a product to landscapers and community members throughout St. John, using their gardens and their landscaping. And it's just a way to take the vegetative material that's currently brought to the Susannaburg transfer station, which is our neighbor here on Gift Hill Road. And at this time, that material is, it's not used for anything. Sometimes it's put in satellite dumpsters around the island, in which case that material will go to St. Thomas and sit in a landfill. At this transfer station, it's pushed over the ravine on the back of the property. And so now we'll be able to capture that material and process it into a usable resource here on the island. So that's another way you can help recycle, is by bringing your brush material from your home up to the transfer station rather than putting it in satellite dumpsters around the island. And all that material now will start to be processed through Island Green's grant pilot program. And then finally, we have the aluminum recycling program, which I'm going to let Anthony speak about. He runs this program, and most people are familiar with that, but I'll let him talk about that.
All right, hey y'all. So I ended up getting involved with this about January of 2019. I was looking for a change and to do something productive that I felt was giving back to the island. And as many people noticed, there was no recycling here. They weren't recycling anything. I'm working in the bars. I'm throwing away all these cans and bottles. I was really motivated to try and get some recycling going. So I met up with these people at Island Green, these great people. They already had a can crushing machine, and we're like, all right, well, that's the starting point. They already had the Resource Depot and the can crushing operation. So I'll just give a real quick overview of how the can crushing operation here works. And then if there's any questions, feel free to just put in any time, or we'll see how that goes. So we operate as a drop-off facility. We don't have, a big dump truck or collections all over the island. We ask the community to bring their cans here, and then we will process them and sort them and compact them and get them out of there from there, which is a task all of its own. We have talked about having community members involved in the pickup process. We have some really awesome couples, like Val and Dane Tar, for example. They live out in Fish Bay. They wanted to help with the recycling, so they just put out some recycling bins, and then whenever it's full, they just bring them up here. They already come up Gift Hill Road anyways. If you have people in your neighborhood, you have a vehicle to get cans here. I've done the same thing at my apartment complex. I just put a bin outside. I bring them all up here for people. I do a couple bins at Connections too, right outside in the center of town, that you can drop off your cans at, that I do pick up. That's one place I do pick up in town. But other than that, we've kind of found ways to get the cans delivered here, even through the businesses. I've gotten a lot of the restaurants, the bars, all of the concessions within the national park. Like Trunk Bay concession stand has a recycling bin over there, and they bring them up here on their own. Maho Bay, same deal. They collect the cans, bring them up here. And so that's what's really help this move along is a lot of participation from, people, not like, we can't be expected to just go pick up all these cans all over the island and process them and send them. It's quite a system. So when the cans do get here, the sorting system is all hand sorting. So it's me and some volunteers and some friends that want to come up and help with the program. We have to empty out each bag onto a table. We have to make sure there's no trash going into this machine. The whole container of, or the whole pallet of cans could get rejected if there's too much trash. They call it contamination in the recycling world. But if there's trash, it's smushed in with the cans, the whole, operation, or the whole bale could go to waste. So we take a lot of time to make sure there's no trash going into the machine. There's no plastic, there's no straws, there's no, plastic bags, cigarette butts. If there's cans with cigarette butts in them, those might as well just go in the trash. If you do smoke cigarettes, if you know people, because we are, hand sorting. They can smell sometimes. Cat food, a lot of people don't know that most of like the cat food containers are actually aluminum. So if you have cats, you have all those little cans of food. Please rinse those because they smell awful when the cat food has been sitting in there for a long time. I've had to deal with that many times. Felt like a stink bomb when I opened up the bag. But if those are rinsed, those can be recycled as well. And one of the things I wanted to touch on is, like right now we are just doing aluminum. So there are a lot of cans, if you say just cans, there are different types of cans out there that actually can't be mixed with the aluminum stream. There's steel cans, there's tin cans. Tin cans are like what, canned vegetables are coming in, and canned soups. Those are not aluminum. Those don't go in, those end up getting thrown away still. Those rust and corrode quicker and don't have the same recycle value. There's also steel cans. I know like there's some coconut waters around the island that come in a nice tall can. Some of them are aluminum and some of them are steel. So people ask, what's a good way to know that? There's a pretty easy test. If you can take the can and you can, squish it pretty easily, like you can with a soda can or a beer can, they crumble pretty easily. It's most likely going to be aluminum. But if if that can's really rigid, it's probably a steel can. So that's a quick little test you can do. Just little things like this don't sound like a lot, but the less trash that we have coming in here just speeds up our whole processing systems. There's less work for us to do. It helps us, keep things moving and be able to, move on to other projects, trying to expand the operation, trying to get more cans. I know we've been working with a lot more places around the island to get more cans. I've been getting a lot of bars and restaurants because I knew they were producing a lot. Trying to find a way to get the boaters out there. I know the charter boats are producing a lot of cans because they don't do glass on the boats, so they come back. But we gotta find places to put these drop-off points and people to regularly monitor them. So, you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, I was just gonna maybe segue into some of the challenges that Anthony mentioned a few already, but recycling in the islands is definitely a different beast from recycling, say, in the United States. So some of the challenges that we have here is obviously just getting the material off the island itself. So last year we were able to secure a donation from a charter company here that was backhauling to empty to Puerto Rico. And so they threw our pallets of cans on their boat and we sold it to a recycler in Puerto Rico. So that was great. But long term, that's a challenge, is the affordability of the shipping of the material off the island. So, there are lots of different myths about recycling that I kind of wanted to touch on too. And this doesn't all necessarily apply to the Virgin Islands right now because we don't have any kind of government led or large private recycler on the island or within the territory that really has taken recycling. We are doing what we can and we have plans to expand and do more, but we are a nonprofit, so we're limited in what we can do as funding allows. So in the States, a lot of people, you hear now all about the China green sword, which is a very real thing. In 2013, China put up their first warning to the United States saying, hey, United States, you're sending us all your trash. If you don't stop, then we're not going to take your material anymore. fast forward 5 years later, the United States hadn't cleaned up its act. And so China did say, we're not taking your material anymore. And this affected a lot of municipalities around the United States because China took a lot of the material. So, so you see these headlines that talk about recycling not working, recycling is a waste. Recycling industry definitely is in a dire situation, but it is our belief that the recycling programs around the United States can absolutely be saved. One of the biggest problems to the recycling industry is there's no standardized labeling. So if you go in any packaging, that you get for anything, and you look at the recycling notes that are on there, it's just whatever that manufacturer wanted to put. So there's no standard labeling. It creates a lot of confusion for people on what can they recycle, what can't they recycle. This is plastic number 4, and then each recycling program across the United States takes something different based on what their processing facility is able to handle. So like, for example, here, we only take aluminum right now because that's all we're able to process at this time here. Some places will take, all plastic. Some places will take only plastics 1 and 5. It gets very confusing. And so I think people that are trying to do the right thing get discouraged. They get, get just kind of disgruntled at the recycling industry. So and they kind of give up. So there is a lot of room for improvement in the recycling world. There is federal legislation that's being worked out right now that would standardize labeling across the United States. And they've shown that through doing that, we can increase recycling quite a bit and decrease contamination, which the contamination is really, and it's all sort of linked together. The confusion of the labeling leads to contamination, which decreases the profitability of the material, which makes it hard for manufacturers to use recycled content in their products. So it's all kind of a downward spiral from contamination at the start. So there's a lot of myths about there as far as recycling goes, but I'm hopeful, and you can get involved yourself. There's a really great website called Recycle Across America. It's got tons of facts and information about this law that's being worked on. And if we could get that passed and have some standardization in the labeling process, I think that would really help with the recycling industry as a whole. But here on St. John, a little update for our plans here at Island Green. We, this year, will be purchasing equipment that will allow us to take on some plastics, not all plastics, but some plastics. So we'll be able to process through that with that machine, aluminum and some plastics. We're working on a comprehensive recycling plan. So it's not just a drop-off point, but that we actually have collection routes. We have a driver that goes around and services those bins throughout the community, brings them here. We have people that process it, and then we have the baler that will bale the equipment, or the material rather. So that's our vision. We are looking into glass as well. So these are both things that we've done a lot of research on and are working towards. These are part of our 2020 strategic plan. So.
And we just hope people understand. I mean, it sounds easy, like, oh, we want to be able to recycle plastic too, but this is like, it's a whole business venture for us to take on. Each one is like adding a whole nother business to our operation. So, believe me, we wish we could just take all the material that we could and have a route for it. I want to open up if there's any questions so far, if anyone had specific questions for us or things that they wanted to touch on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I moved here from Portland, Maine, and it was all recycling. If you didn't recycle, you had to buy color-coded plastic trash bags to throw away your other trash. What does it take to get, your state code on a bottle? So you can get paid your 5 cents. They have the states on the bottom of bottles and et cetera.
Right. That's a good question. I don't really know. I haven't lived in a state before that had a bottle bill. I know here in the Virgin Islands, they did try to get that going a number of years ago. And I think that some of the larger manufacturers of plastic came in and kind of killed that at that time. So I don't know what it takes to get your state listed on a bottle, but there's been talk about reintroducing that bill here, but not yet.
Okay.
I think there's a challenge here with the bottom bill too, in that no one really pays for the trash service here either. I mean, you can just dump your garbage in, any bin for free here. But a bottle bill has been, proven effective, and so that's something that would start with the government, obviously, and with a partnership with people actually doing the waste management to actually get this stuff separated, and a little bit beyond. Like, we can kind of advocate for a bottle bill, and there would have to be a facility set up that's ready to process glass before this can be, somewhere for it to go before this all happens. So. Bottle bill is a great idea, and we definitely are going to advocate for that. There's definitely got to be a methodical approach to have like all the systems ready for when if it does pass. But we believe that we still can accomplish some glass recycling even if there's not a bottle bill with the proper machinery. You have a basic concept is just a pulverizer, so you can take glass bottles and just pulverize them into a fine sand, and that sand can be used in some sort of construction applications. They can be used as an aggregate in landscaping. If they're backfilling a hole that they dug in some forms of non-structural concrete. If you're not building a wall, if you're building a sidewalk on the ground or something like that. People are importing sand already to the island for these purposes. And the glass recycling that we've imagined is a creative way to just use this glass sand in these applications. If anyone had their own little glass blowing studio, you could even, turn it right back into some more glass. But glass was one of the main reasons I wanted to get involved in this, because I saw a way that we could do it. And, just have keep the glass on the island, because like we're saying, one of our challenges is getting the stuff off the island to a recycling company. But with you can pulverize the glass, you can just use it here. It's like the compost materials, and that's the ideal scenario for us as an island, is to not have these leave the island, not have to try and sell them to somebody else. If they can just stay here, it saves a lot of steps in the process.
Great. Yeah, and cost.
Yeah.
Money. Right.
Is there any kind of like local government money put towards any kind of recycling program or anything like that? I just wonder if there's like, a tourist tax or something like that, or certain taxes on certain things because it seems like that's where most of the supply comes from. It's just the overwhelming of the farmers and stuff like that. And then buy plastic water bottles when they're there and stuff. I don't know. Is there any kind of grants for the government, local government there?
This time there's not, no. I mean, they are working in St. Croix. They have to, their landfill there they're closing it down. They're actively working towards that. And so then it's our understanding through our relationships with those guys over there that they're working on a recycling component when they open the new landfill. To what that exactly will look like, we can't say just yet, but there's no, there's not, to our knowledge, any grant money available, or real push by the government to include recycling as part of their waste management approach.
Maybe that's something that, we as all the citizens and the people around here can just start putting some more pressure on, legislation, and just bringing this up as an issue more. Like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Like, we're able to recycle a small amount on St. John, which is by far the smallest of these 3 islands. And you can, imagine the kind of waste that are coming from all these cruise ships and from the bigger islands, and tens of thousands more people here. It's definitely quite a big undertaking to establish a recycling program for a place that big. We're finding it. It's a challenge even for a small island like this. And it would definitely need to have some government resources and finances.
Most places in the States have a government, whether it's a private partnership, public partnership that funds their recycling program, or it's just run by the government itself through their funds. But so it's an added challenge for us here for sure. But on that note, you can donate to the recycling program if you'd like. We have our website. It's islandgreenliving.org. We have a donate button at the top right-hand corner. We also have a membership that you can join. $30 gets you a year-long membership with Island Green. There's a tab on our website, Membership Matters. Please consider joining as a member or donating what you can, especially if you use our recycling program here and drop off your cans. All of the proceeds from the donations and the membership fees go to continuing these programs and helping to expand them. We definitely have the vision. And like I said, we do what we can as funding allows.
One more question.
Yeah.
If you can get people here to separate their glass and their plastic like the same way they do the aluminum drop off, is there some monetary benefit that you can sell it to someone who can recycle it, or another way to use it to at least raise money?
So the monetary returns on plastic are quite minimal, and we haven't even found anyone that's buying glass because there's especially with the shipping off of the island.
Yeah. The weight alone of glass would really make it pretty prohibitive to do so unless you had some kind of, large scale, like if all 3 islands were combined and you had something going like that possibly, but yeah, it's tough.
Buying it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to touch on like the reuse aspect too, like we were saying with the resource depot, and just the recycling in general, like what we're trying to develop with our property here is just like a whole sustainable living center that you can come to recycle your cans, to if you need something fixed, if we have the right tools or we have the right materials, or there's if we can connect you with someone that might know how to repair it, any sort of ways that we can try and help out for you, not just throwing something away because it's just needs a little fix and I don't really know what to do with it, which I know happens a lot. Trying to get that
printer from you works great.
Right.
Yeah.
So guys, I know there's a lot of kind of individual choice when it comes to, making sure that recycling and particularly reducing what we use and reusing to make it all successful. But as you guys are working through your strategic plan, what's kind of one, kind of big win that you see is attainable for us to do on St. John and that we should be, kind of aiming at next?
I would say collections.
I was thinking about the collections too. Because we're able to do aluminum right now, if we can establish an aluminum collection around the island, that just lays the framework to just simply add, a plastic bin in the same place when it's there. If we can happen to get them through the parks and the beaches and all the restaurants and maybe some neighborhoods and stuff like that, if we can already have a system of getting all this stuff up here and being ready, then when we add on our next recycling stream, it's that much easier to just, have a bin for plastic next to the one for cans. And then, because we're still going to be faced with the same challenges of collection and getting them here, even if we announce, we're collecting these things, they're still getting it up here it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, so we've talked to a couple of the private haulers on the island, and we're in conversation with them about getting something like that established, and we were really getting some momentum going, and then COVID happened, and so it's kind of put things on hold a little bit as far as that goes.
Yeah, cool.
Is there any discussion with retailers about what they're bringing into their stores and in the supply chain? For instance, in some stores, you can buy beer in glass and in cans, and it's the same brand. Is there any discussion going along those lines?
Not as much with the beer, but there is a company now that's making water in aluminum cans. And so we have reached out to some retailers about that and asked them if they'll switch over from plastic bottles to water in aluminum can if you're going to sell a water option at all.
Because they can be recycled here.
They can be recycled here.
I wouldn't say the stores, but like I work in the restaurant industry, and I know at least of a few bars that made the switch just to canned beer. Like the Beach Bar and Joe's Rum Hut in particular, right on the Wharfside Village, and that that switch from glass to cans is, I picked up the bags there. It's hundreds and hundreds every day of, cans. So I agree that, if we can keep that momentum going and people are, for now at least, just willing to drink out of canned beer instead of glass beer, which I have no problem with. It definitely does make an impact and make a small dent in how much bucks is going over. Cans are a lot lighter. You can stock a lot more. There's definitely some advantages. When you're disposing too, the glass is always heavy. The heaviest part of the trash is always the glass. So I like that suggestion and about working with retailers more too.
Definitely.
But then again, having like an accessible place for people to bring those cans to when they buy it, that they know where they can recycle it, because it's not spread around the island. If they're just going to the store and buying it, bringing it back to their villa, who knows if they have any sort of means to get them here, whether it is glass or cans. So public awareness definitely is another one too. We talked about collections, but definitely the whole island of St. John doesn't know about what we're doing and where our locations are and what we can take. So another thing we're working on is just getting the word out still. We've moved our location. A lot of people are familiar with the old Island Green location. We literally moved right across the street, but this one's a little bit harder to see.
We're down the hill from Bitima, so you go through their parking lot and then we're down below. So if you're at Tony's Kitchen on Gift Hill, on Centerline, and you look down, that's our yard there.
Yeah, we've been there several times, and it was hard to find initially.
Yeah, we're aware. We're trying to get some signage on the road and stuff too. That's not our property, so we gotta kind of.
I don't know about bottled water on the island.
Yeah.
I don't live on St. John, but we've been there a lot and we love it there. One of the things that we noticed was like in some places we've rented to stay at, they advise us not to drink the water. And then other places like you can't drink the water. I don't know if that's normal for everywhere, but we were wondering like, would there ever be a possibility of having like a refill station for those jugs of water? Because that's like so many jugs of water when you can't water a villa,
Yeah.
There is a refill place in town, right next to Provisions at Kilroy's Laundry and then Santos Laundry just a little further down. You can refill water in both of those places. We've also been working with villas on a lot of them have filtration on their cisterns, so you can drink the water, and just putting the message out to their guests beforehand that, hey, it's safe to drink the water here. So we encourage you, rather than buying plastic, or to at least alert them that there is that refill station if they do want to get the plastic gallon. So we've been working through a villa, just a reach out program with villas, connecting with them on best practices and things that they can do to alert the guests before they come here, like our sunscreen, about the sunscreen ban, and about, just bring down your own cup and then bring it with you to the bars. A lot of places don't, just use single-use plastic. So we do try to reach out to villas and work with them on that.
Tony, Andy wants to be that guy that stands at the ferry dock and hands out reusable cups and get everyone to stop giving people plastic. Like, you have to bring your own cup. He's like, I'm going to do that.
He could probably intimidate a few people.
He's going to design a cup, and he wants to get all the bars to stop using single-use plastic. Yep.
It's a lot. I mean, I've been in the restaurant industry for a couple of years, and just the daily consumption of just plastic cups is insane. If anyone has, I've been trying to figure out a way to get reusable shot cups if anyone has any ideas on that you want to talk about. All the shot glasses, every shot that everyone takes in every bar is in one piece of plastic, and then they throw it away. That's anywhere. Some of the nicer restaurants have glass shot glasses, but
even Shambles has real shot glasses that somebody donated when he opened. They don't even use plastics, so come on.
Shambles is great over there. They grow their own food. They have compost packaging. They don't have any plastics. They use canned for their sodas, and he brings them up here all the time. So
there's lots of people doing businesses that are doing as much as they can, and they switched from styrofoam to go containers to the the ones that break down easier. Even though we don't have a commercial composting facility here, I still think they're better than styrofoam. But so we appreciate everyone's efforts, and we'll make a difference, just one community member at a time, as we all work together.
Yeah, you guys are looking at the staff of Island Green right in this picture right here. So this is why we are always looking out for volunteers and just people in the community to get involved in any sort of way that they can help. We have a lot of ideas and missions, and kind of try our best to juggle a lot of things at once. And obviously, we want to expand more. It's a team project here, and
and Anthony's part-time when it's not the pandemic. So, but he does probably more than any full-time employee, not part-time, that he does work. He does a lot for us. So
another thing we're working on, we're excited to not unveil right now, but is our building that we're at right now. So the Resource Depot has always operated out of just some shipping containers and just kind of been a very like island vibe little retail store that's on these containers. When we did move across the street, we had pretty abandoned building that had some structural framework still good. So we basically just had a roof and some support beams and a couple of walls up. But I would show up here every day, and the pigs are sleeping in there, and the rain's in here, and there's, it wasn't much. But we've got a FEMA grant. We've been doing a lot of work up here. We have walls and doors up. The building's strong and fortified, and we're working on
roof is finished,
developing this into the Resource Depot, and also as a community resource to host meetings to talk about these things, workshops, to help have a platform, to have rebuild workshops. Just host all kinds of cool stuff up here and have a place to for people to gather and talk about that kind of stuff. So that's one thing we're real excited about.
Yeah.
And we're still working on it too. Quarantine's been good for that. I just locked myself up here and been painting a lot and trying to get this place in order.
Pressure washing.
Yeah. Trying to get a bathroom. One step at a time. But we have a really cool vision for this place. We're excited to keep unveiling it to people as they keep coming up. Even people that came up last year to recycle some cans, they show up this year, and all of a sudden we have all the walls up, and we have doors, and it's actually inside. And like, oh my God, this looks amazing! And so we're still getting there, but we're really excited.
So listen, I come over from Coral Bay with a pickup truck every day. So let's talk about how we can start getting some stuff regularly from Coral Bay collected and brought over to your place.
Okay, great.
Yeah, great. We have another guy in Coral Bay, John Joyce from the Danforth, who
he's collecting cans. About. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, if we could maybe put I know people have mentioned this about putting a bin out.
I think it's been a question of where can the bin go? Yeah, because we can build it.
I'd put them right down there beside the
dumpster.
It seems to be the community gathering place for dropping stuff off. So
yeah,
the more stuff we can get in containers, the better.
The goodwill of Coral Bay.
Hey, any other questions for Kelly and Anthony? Guys, it's great work, and we're happy to talk about ways to help, and we'll keep working with the park on it as well, and appreciate you taking the time today and educating us about your programs, and definitely look forward to more from you in the future. And so appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody joining us. And if that's all the questions, have a very happy Earth Day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
You did.